How your body decides to store body fat could tell a lot about your overall health. Not all fat is the same. Where yours collects could signal an increased risk of an array of diseases. Because yeah, some is good, some is essential, and some is, well, it's unsightly, but some could of course be dangerous. Obesity is a known risk factor for many diseases, but new research suggests that where the body fat is stored is even more critical than the number on the scale. Researchers in the UK's Integrative Cancer Epidemiological Program in Bristol examined whether body fat distribution affects a risk of 12 cancers, including endometrial of the uterus. I think I'll be safe from that one. Ovarian, okay. Breast, well, it's a little rare, but I suppose it could happen. Colorectal and liver cancer. All right. They found that presence of fat around the organs was a significant risk factor. Yeah, your visceral fat, that makes sense. And the relationship between fat distribution and cancer risk varied by cancer type. Deep, invisible, yes, abdominal visceral fat, the quote-unquote white fat in your body, and the fat around the liver and pancreas were linked to higher risks of various cancers, including liver, ovarian, and thyroid. Fat stored subcutaneously, the brown fat, the type that people generally think of because it is visible, or fat below the waist, showed a more complex relationship, at times raising the risk, while other times being protective. Dr. Emma Hazelwood, lead author of the study, said in a statement that these findings support a growing consensus that BMI, while useful for population-level trends, may be too simplistic for assessing individual health risks. It is vital to understand the biological mechanisms that underpin these associations, particularly how and why fat deposits affect cancer development. BMI, calculated by dividing a person's weight in kilograms by the square of their height in meters, is an outdated health metric because it fails to distinguish between dangerous visceral fat and less harmful subcutaneous fat, and then also factor in muscle mass. It's good for your average individual, okay? The person who struggles to hit general activity levels, who eats a standard American diet, it's fine for those individuals, but for anybody who does a modicum of exercise or somebody who just wants more precise health measurements, yeah, you're going to find it lacking for sure. And yes, of course, additionally, since muscle is denser and weighs more than fat, a very muscular person can be classified as overweight or obese by BMI despite having low body fat. Visceral fat actively drives cancer risk by creating a state of chronic inflammation and hormonal imbalance. Deep abdominal fat functions like an active organ, producing hormones and inflammatory proteins rather than merely serving as inert storage. This activity can damage DNA and promote the growth of tumors. Its location allows it to flood the liver with these substances, contributing to fatty liver disease, diabetes, and other metabolic disorders. To prove fat storage directly causes cancer, researchers used a genetic technique showing the predisposition to store fat in certain areas raises the risk by altering blood biomarkers like hormones and inflammation. The strongest links found that fat inside organs dramatically increases risk. Yeah, it totally makes sense. Liver fat quadrupled the risk of liver cancer, equaling a 309% increased risk. That's pretty significant. And pancreatic fat doubled the risk of endometrial ovarian cancer. Subcutaneous fat, on the other end of the spectrum, was linked to a 1.8 times higher risk of endometrial cancer and a 2.3 times greater risk of esophageal adenocarcinoma, cancer that develops in the glandular cells of the esophagus. Okay, that makes sense. The UK findings align with a recent research, including a 2024 American Cancer Society study linking high visceral fat scores to significantly elevated cancer risks. Fat deep in the abdomen increased the risk of thyroid and liver cancer. A weight gain around the middle typically indicates an increase in visceral fat, the type of fat that surrounds the internal organs. The ACS research found the most dramatic increase were for endometrial cancers, which more than doubled, and gallbladder cancer, which saw an 83% higher risk. ACS research also found substantially elevated risk were observed for kidneys, 39% higher, liver 25% higher, colorectal 14% higher, and breast at 11% higher cancers. Surprisingly, subcutaneous fat was protective, lowering the risk of luminal B and triple-negative breast cancers by 46 and 57% respectively. Interesting. The danger of visceral fat extends beyond cancer, increasing the risk of heart disease, even in people with a normal BMI. So yeah, visceral fat, just to cap this off, releases inflammatory compounds to promote insulin resistance, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol, all of which work together to raise the risk of heart attack and stroke. High amounts of visceral fat, particularly in middle age, are strongly linked to a higher risk of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease, according to an international study published last year. So yes, well, sometimes a little bit of extra fat might end up working out well for you, but long story short, man, you're carrying around a little bit too much weight, and especially some of that terrible white fat out there, you're going to end up running afoul of several terrible diseases, most of which involve some horrific forms of cancer. So do yourself a favor and lose those pounds the healthy, safe, and effective way. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.